Have you ever wondered what's really happening to your body while you sleep? Not just the dreams, not just the rest, but what's going on inside your muscles, your strength, your energy? While you close your eyes and drift off, your body enters a state that can either rebuild you or break you down. And the scary part? Most people are waking up weaker every single day without even realizing it. They think sleep is enough. They think hitting the gym or eating well during the day will protect them. But there's a silent crisis happening every night, and it's stealing your strength, slowly, without a sound. Your body doesn't stop working when you sleep. In fact, that's when some of the most powerful healing happens. Your brain resets. Your hormones rebalance. Your muscles begin to repair. But all of this depends on one crucial thing: having the right fuel in your system before you sleep. If you don't feed your body what it needs, it doesn't pause the repair process. It pulls energy from somewhere else. And that somewhere is your own muscle. Yes, your body eats away at your own strength when it doesn't have enough resources to recover. That's not theory. That's biology. It's happening to millions of people right now, just like it may be happening to you. Think about that for a moment. Every night you go to bed without giving your body what it needs. You're not just sleeping. You're shrinking. You're getting weaker. Your energy, your stamina, even your confidence quietly eroding. This is why some people feel tired no matter how much they sleep. It's why workouts stop producing results. It's why aging feels faster than it should. Not because they're lazy, not because they lack discipline, but because their body is trying to recover on empty. And an empty tank can't drive anything forward. But there's hope. There's a powerful solution that's simple, actionable, and backed by real science. What you eat before bed can either protect your muscle or let it waste away. One choice, just one small habit, can reverse the damage and build your strength while you sleep. You don't have to train harder. You don't have to sacrifice comfort. You just have to understand how your body works and fuel it the right way. That's what this video is about. It's not just about stopping muscle loss, it's about reclaiming control over your body, your health, and your power. Stay with this until the end, because what you'll discover could be the key to waking up stronger every single day. You'll learn exactly what to eat, why it works, and how to make it part of your life starting tonight. This is more than a tip. It's a transformation. It's your turning point. No more slow decline. No more silent loss. It's time to rebuild, to restore, and to rise while the world sleeps. And it starts with one simple decision. Let's begin. You are not losing strength because you're weak. You're losing it because you're uninformed. Your body isn't failing you, it's begging you to understand it. Muscle doesn't disappear by accident. It fades when you don't feed it. It breaks down when you don't give it the tools it needs to survive. Every night, your body enters a natural fast. You're not eating for 6 to 8 hours, sometimes more. And during that time, your muscles are still alive, still active, still needing fuel to repair the damage from the day. If there's no fuel, your body doesn't wait. It scavenges. And the easiest thing to burn, your muscle, your strength, your future. This is the hidden war happening inside you. Not visible, not loud, but relentless. Your body wants to grow. It wants to stay strong. But it cannot do that for nothing. It needs amino acids, the building blocks of strength. It needs protein that lasts through the night, that digests slowly, that drips into your bloodstream like a steady stream of life. If it doesn't have that, it falls apart piece by piece. You can't rely on what you ate earlier. That fuel is long gone. You need to think about what you're giving your body right before you rest. That moment, that choice, determines whether your night becomes your ally or your enemy. This is where change begins. Not in the gym, not with a trainer, not with a loud voice telling you to push harder. It begins in silence, in stillness. In the moment you reach for the right food before closing your eyes. That is power. That is control. You're not feeding hunger, you're feeding purpose. You're not eating for comfort, you're eating for recovery. One small action that says, I choose strength, I choose growth, I choose to protect what I've worked for. The difference between waking up tired and waking up powerful often comes down to this one overlooked step. This one missing piece. Feed your body before bed, and it stops feeding on itself. It stops breaking what you've built. It starts repairing, rebuilding, recharging. That means you wake up with energy. You wake up with drive. You wake up with clarity. Not because you slept longer, but because you slept smarter. This is what nobody teaches. This is what most ignore. But you're not like most. You're here because something inside you refuses to settle. Something inside you wants more energy, more strength, more life. And it's not going to come from luck. It's going to come from knowledge turned into action. From action turned into habit. From habit turned into transformation. You already have the will. Now you have the way. The smallest choice, repeated daily, becomes your strongest defense. Let others sleep in weakness. You will sleep in strength. You will rebuild as the world rests. And when morning comes, you will rise with more than just light. You will rise with power. Your body is always listening. It hears every decision you make, every skipped meal, every rushed excuse, every time you ignore what it needs, it doesn't punish you with pain, it responds with weakness. Quietly, consistently. It adapts to what you give it. If you give it emptiness, it learns to survive by cutting from your own strength. But if you give it power, even in small doses, it learns to thrive. It learns to build, to restore, to protect. This is not just about food. This is about sending a message to your body that you are ready to fight for yourself, that you are no longer willing to let time, stress, or habits decide your future, that you are in control now. Muscle loss while sleeping isn't a flaw. It's a signal. It means your body is looking for fuel in the dark. And when it doesn't find it, it pulls from what matters most: your lean mass, your strength, your performance. That's why one day you feel unstoppable, and the next you can't lift what you did last week. That's why some mornings feel heavier than others. Not because your goals changed, but because your body was forced to cannibalize itself while you slept, not out of failure, out of survival. But survival isn't your goal. Greatness is. And greatness requires more than sleep. It requires intention. There is no such thing as a neutral night. You are either rebuilding or breaking down. There is no pause button, no safe zone. Your body is always working. The question is, are you working with it or against it? Most people aren't lazy, they're just misinformed. They chase results without understanding the process. They work hard but neglect the timing. They eat well but forget the window that matters most. The final hour before sleep. That's the gateway. That's the lock, and the right food is the key. A slow digesting protein before bed isn't just fuel, it's a declaration. It's telling your body, I've got you. It's saying you won't have to break down muscle to make it through the night. It's giving your recovery team the tools they need before they clock in, and they work harder when they're supported. They repair faster. They build better. You don't need to change your whole diet. You don't need to overhaul your life. You just need to add one decision, one powerful habit that takes seconds, but pays you back in strength, energy, and endurance. This is where discipline turns into momentum. Momentum turns into results, and results turn into identity. You stop seeing yourself as someone who tries, and you start becoming someone who is strong, focused, intentional. Every night becomes a silent agreement with your future. You give your body what it needs, and it gives you back what you've always wanted: power without pain, progress without punishment, growth without guessing. You wake up no longer wondering if you're improving. You know you are, because you chose to lead while others coast. You chose to rise while the world slept. The body responds to consistency, not perfection, not intensity. Consistency. One repeated act, done with purpose, is more powerful than bursts of effort done in chaos. What you eat before bed doesn't need to be complicated. It needs to be deliberate. A simple choice, made with awareness, becomes a weapon. A slow digesting protein source that fuels your system over hours, releasing amino acids steadily, guarding your muscles through the night. This isn't a trend. This is physiology. Your body absorbs nutrients even while you sleep, and when you feed it something that lasts, it doesn't just survive the night, it uses the darkness to repair, to rebuild, to grow. You've worked too hard to let your progress slip away silently while you rest. You've earned your strength, you've earned your energy, and if you want to keep it, you need to protect it when you're most vulnerable. Sleep is not downtime, it is opportunity, an open door where your body has the chance to heal the damage done by the day, but only if it has the raw materials to do so. Without fuel, there's no recovery. Without nutrients, there's no growth. You can't expect results from an engine you starve. Your body is not magic. It's intelligent. It needs support. And when you give it that support, it responds with power. The change doesn't start in the gym. It doesn't begin with louder music or longer workouts. It begins in the quiet moments. The decisions no one sees. The ones you make for you. The moment you choose to respect your body enough to feed it properly before rest, everything shifts. You stop working against biology and start working with it. You become an ally to your own transformation. And the results, they don't just show in your reflection. They show in how you feel, how you move, how you carry yourself in every part of life. You weren't meant to decline. You weren't designed to grow weaker with every year. Strength is your default. Power is your blueprint, but only if you support it, only if you protect it with action. The truth is, most people don't lose muscle because of age, they lose it because of neglect. They stop giving their body what it needs. They stop respecting the little moments. But not you. You see now that the smallest moment can hold the biggest key. One mindful choice before bed is enough to start turning the tide. One habit, repeated with discipline, becomes a force. It becomes identity. You are not falling behind. You are waking up. You are stepping into the truth of what your body has always needed and finally giving it the respect it deserves. This is your edge. This is your advantage. While others treat sleep as a break, you will use it as a builder. You will rise with more than rest. You will rise with momentum, And each morning, your body will thank you not with words, but with results. Unusual activity has been detected from your device. Try again later. 9496 E65E53A67. F or A. You don't need more time. You need more intention. Every second before bed is a chance to build the future you say you want. This is not about eating late. This is about eating smart, fueling with purpose, nourishing with precision. You're not throwing in calories, you're planting the seeds of strength. What you give your body before sleep becomes the foundation for everything that follows. Your recovery, your clarity, your energy, your discipline. All of it is influenced by what you put in when the world quiets down. When it's just you and your choices, that's the moment that separates those who coast from those who conquer. This is not a sacrifice. This is an investment. One decision at night, and your body works for you instead of against you. Muscles don't just grow in the gym. They grow in the silence, in the stillness, when you're not pushing but recovering. But only if you've given your body the signal to grow. And that signal is protein. Not just any kind, but the kind that breaks down slowly. That sustains you through hours of rest. That doesn't spike, then vanish, but instead lingers, nourishes, and builds. This is how you turn your rest into growth. This is how you use sleep as a weapon, not a weakness. You are not here to watch your progress fade overnight. You are here to reclaim every minute, to make every hour of rest work in your favor. Most people never think about this. They eat for taste, for comfort, for routine. You eat for power. You eat for purpose. This mindset changes everything. It rewires your relationship with food. You no longer see it as pleasure or punishment. You see it as preparation, as fuel for the mission. Every bite has meaning. Every choice has consequence. And every night becomes a step forward, not back. You don't need to be perfect. You need to be aware. One decision made consistently beats 1,000 decisions made without thought. And that's what this moment before bed is. A reminder that your actions don't end when the day does. They continue in the dark, in the choices no one praises, in the moments no one sees. That's where champions are built. In the quiet, in the calm, in the hour when others let go and you lock in. This is how strength is preserved. Not through struggle, but through strategy. Not through effort alone, but through understanding. You're no longer guessing. You're no longer hoping. You know now that this one act of care, this one act of feeding your body, what it truly needs isn't just about muscles. It's about momentum. It's about showing up for yourself even when there's no spotlight, even when there's no noise. This is real discipline, the kind that lives in silence, the kind that fuels transformation. And when your body wakes up stronger, more alert, more capable, you'll know exactly why. Because you didn't leave your growth to chance. You took control. And you never looked back. Most people wait for the perfect moment to change. They wait until they feel ready, until life calms down, until the timing feels right. But the truth is, transformation doesn't wait. It begins the moment you stop making excuses and start making moves. Real change happens in the unseen choices, in the invisible battles between comfort and commitment. You win those battles by showing up in the smallest ways, like what you choose to eat before you sleep. That decision might seem insignificant, but it's the quiet victories that shape who you become. Because each time you honor your goals when no one's watching, you build a foundation that cannot be shaken. Your body listens to consistency more than it listens to motivation. It doesn't respond to hype, it responds to habits. Every time you give it what it needs, you reinforce the message that you're serious about growth, that you're done wasting potential, that you're here to become stronger every day, not just when it's convenient. And that one habit, that one deliberate act before bed, is a signal that echoes far beyond the night. It becomes part of your identity. You stop being someone who tries, and you start being someone who lives in alignment with their purpose. Someone who understands that recovery is not passive, it's strategic. This is not about fear of losing muscle. This is about respect for the strength you've built. It's about owning your results and refusing to let your progress erode in silence. Your body doesn't need massive changes, it needs consistent signals. It needs to know that you're invested in keeping it strong, even while you sleep. That's why this matters. Not because it's trendy or extreme, but because it's simple, sustainable, and powerful. One fuel source, one habit, one commitment to refuse decline. That's what separates those who maintain their strength from those who watch it fade and wonder why. You are not average. You are not made to drift through routines, living on autopilot. You are built for excellence, built for precision, and that means taking control of the moments that others overlook. Your evening nutrition isn't an afterthought, it's the final act of discipline that sets the tone for everything that follows. While the world unwinds and slips into comfort, you act with intention. You lead your body into recovery like a warrior stepping into armor. Calm, focused, deliberate. Because you understand that discipline isn't loud, it's quiet, and it's relentless. This is how you rise. Not by doing more, but by doing what matters most. Not by chasing perfection, but by choosing power over passivity. Each night becomes a contract with your goals. Each choice becomes proof that you're still in the fight, that you haven't let go.
But you are still building, still moving,
Still committed. Your body is ready to follow your lead. Feed it with purpose. Fuel it with strength. And let every night become a launch pad for growth, driven by nothing but the force of your own decisions. The more intentional you become, the more unstoppable you feel. There's power in knowing you control the process, not just during the day, but in the final moments before rest. That last decision of the night, that final act of discipline, is where momentum is either built or broken. It's easy to fall into comfort, easy to reach for convenience. But when you make the choice that aligns with growth, even when you don't feel like it, you elevate everything. You're no longer surviving your days, you're designing your nights. You're not waiting for strength to find you. You're building it deliberately, layer by layer, meal by meal, thought by thought. Discipline before sleep changes how you rise. It sharpens your focus. It calms your mind. It trains your nervous system to associate nighttime with purpose, not surrender. The food you eat becomes more than fuel, it becomes an anchor, a symbol of control. You no longer drift through the night hoping for recovery. You command it. Because when you align your actions with your goals, even in silence, you tap into a version of yourself that doesn't settle, doesn't negotiate, doesn't compromise. The body listens. It adapts. It absorbs. And night after night, it gets stronger, not just physically, but mentally. Because you're reinforcing belief with behavior, consistency creates identity. And identity shapes destiny. Every time you give your body exactly what it needs, you're not just helping it repair, you're proving to yourself that you are worthy of the effort, that your goals matter, that you refuse to be one of those who talks about change but never lives it. The transformation starts in the micro decisions, the ones that happen in the quiet. No applause, no spotlight, just you, your choice, and your commitment. And the body, over time, reflects the mindset that built it. Most people live reactive lives. They respond to what happens, then try to fix the damage later, but not you. You are proactive. You are preventative. You understand that real strength isn't just how hard you train, it's how smart you recover. It's how deeply you honor your system. And honoring your system means feeding it like it's worth something. Because it is. It's your foundation. And when your foundation is strong, you don't crack under pressure. You don't lose progress in the dark. You rise from rest with certainty, not fatigue. There's a difference between living and leading, between floating through routines and forging results. You've chosen to lead. And leading yourself means mastering your choices, even the ones no one talks about, especially the ones before bed. That's where your advantage is born. That's where your growth begins, quietly, intentionally, powerfully. So when you wake up tomorrow, you don't just feel rested, you feel fueled, primed, ready. Because you didn't leave the night to chance, you owned it. And when you own your nights, your days follow, with energy, with strength, with the momentum of someone who refuses to drift, someone who builds, someone who wins. The body mirrors the mind, and the mind mirrors the habits that shape it. What you do before sleep sends a message not only to your muscles, but to your mindset. You're either reinforcing discipline or reinforcing delay. You're either stepping into power or stepping away from it. The truth is, transformation never asks for perfection. It asks for presence. Consistent, clear, intentional action that adds up over time. When you treat your night routine as sacred, your life begins to reflect that reverence. Not because of a miracle, but because of the momentum you build behind closed doors, when nobody's watching and everything depends on the choices you make. Every time you fuel your body right before bed, you're saying yes to strength, yes to growth, yes to the version of yourself that refuses to settle. And when you do that often enough, it stops feeling like effort. It starts feeling like identity. You begin to see yourself as someone who does the work, even when the world sleeps. Someone who doesn't negotiate with laziness. Someone who understands that victory is not a single act, but a rhythm built from intention. That rhythm starts to carry you, even on the hard days, even when you feel tired, even when the temptation to let go is loud. When the mind wants to quit, routine steps in. When emotion pulls you away, structure pulls you back. That's why the foods you choose at night matter. Not just for the nutrients they carry, but for the message they send. They say, I'm still in the game. I'm still building. I still care about who I'm becoming. That repetition shapes your inner dialogue. It drowns out doubt and replaces it with resolve. You begin to trust yourself more. You begin to feel proud, not just when you see progress, but when you know deep down that you did what most would not. And that pride is the fuel you need to rise stronger. It's not about what happens in a single night. It's what happens when you own your nights over and over again. That compound effect reshapes your performance, your confidence, your recovery, and your results. You don't just feel different, you operate on a different frequency. One where the standards are higher, the excuses are quieter, and the outcomes are a reflection of deep personal ownership. Muscle doesn't grow by accident. Strength doesn't last without care. And progress doesn't stick without intention. But when you decide that your growth is worth protecting, your sleep becomes a weapon, not a weakness. You don't just rest, you recover with purpose. You don't just eat, you fuel with precision. You don't just wish, you act. And in that space between the pillow and the plate, you create the separation between ordinary and exceptional, between stagnation and elevation, between surviving the night and using it to build a stronger, sharper, more resilient version of you. One decision at a time, one night at a time, until strength becomes who you are. Unusual activity has been detected from your device. Try again later. 949 7357 E3729 23BFRA. Discipline begins where comfort ends. And few moments test that discipline more than the quiet hours before rest. That space where the world goes still, but your choices still echo. It's not about how loud your effort is. It's about how consistent it becomes when no one's watching. The foods you reach for, the thoughts you allow, the rituals you commit to, these aren't minor details. They're declarations. Quiet promises to yourself that you are not done evolving, that your strength deserves reinforcement even in the final hour of the day, because growth is never convenient. It's carved in the cracks of routine, and it's fueled by the decision to keep building when it would be easier to drift. Muscle doesn't simply wait for you while you sleep. It demands preparation. It requires your cooperation. When you feed your body correctly before bed, you give your system a signal, one of stability, one of care, one of power. You say to your body, I'm not leaving this to chance. I'm giving you the tools to repair, to grow, to wake up stronger than I was yesterday. And when that becomes your standard, the results no longer surprise you. They reflect you. They mirror the person you've decided to become, not just in public, but in private. Every bite you take with intention becomes an act of rebellion against stagnation, a stand against all the excuses that try to creep in when the day is done. You're not following the crowd. You're setting a standard, one that prioritizes recovery, not indulgence, one that sees every night as an opportunity, not an escape. That mindset shifts your reality, because when you begin to view rest as an extension of work, you realize that growth never truly stops, it only changes form. From motion to restoration, from output to absorption. And every nutrient you give your body at night is absorbed more powerfully when it's backed by consistency and purpose. You're not here to plateau. You're here to peak, again and again. And that requires fuel, not just effort. Planning, not just motion. Clarity, not just intensity. It's easy to overlook the power of what happens at night. But the elite don't overlook. They optimize. They refine. They prepare in silence, and they perform in strength. You're capable of that. You're capable of controlling every input. Not perfectly, but relentlessly. You just have to remind yourself why it matters, why your body deserves to be supported, why your goals are worthy of protection. The habits that build muscle are the same ones that build self-respect. You don't have to do everything, but you must do what matters. Fuel with intent, sleep with purpose, wake with clarity. That cycle creates the foundation for everything you're chasing. It begins with one simple choice before you close your eyes. Do you honor the goal, or do you delay it? Decide now. Because the body always responds to the standard you set, especially in the quiet moments where real strength is born. The body doesn't lie. It responds to truth. It responds to consistency. It responds to the quiet, repeated actions that speak louder than any burst of willpower. What you feed it before sleep doesn't just affect your muscles, it affects your mindset. It reinforces who you are becoming. You are not just eating to avoid hunger. You are not just resting to avoid fatigue. You are aligning every decision with the image of strength you hold in your mind. Every choice tells your body, this is what I value. This is what I fight for. This is the level I live at now. And that alignment creates power, not just in the gym or in your goals, but in the core of who you are. You don't need perfection to grow. You need precision. You need clarity. You need to stop feeding the part of you that looks for shortcuts and start feeding the part of you that's hungry for transformation. When you choose the right fuel before bed, foods that protect your muscle, support your hormones, and prepare you for deep recovery, you're choosing to show up even when no one is asking you to. That decision sets you apart. It separates you from the average mindset that only works when it's convenient. You're not building a temporary change. You're sculpting something permanent, something resilient, something rooted. This is how you stop muscle loss. This is how you fight back against the slow decline that tries to sneak in through comfort, through apathy, through excuse. You fight with commitment. You fight with intention. You fight with the knowledge that what you do before sleep is not small. It's a declaration. Because every night is either a gift or a loss. You either use it or waste it. There is no in between. And your body is always listening, always adapting, always responding to the environment you create. Most people think transformation is loud, but it's not. It's quiet. It's subtle. It happens in the moment you choose discipline over delay. In the second you reach for fuel instead of filler. In the instant you remind yourself that your goals are more important than your cravings, that kind of thinking builds momentum. And that momentum reshapes not just your physique, but your identity. You no longer just want results, you expect them because you've done the work. You've made the decisions, you've built the foundation in silence. The night can be your greatest ally or your biggest enemy. It can restore you or ruin you. And that power sits in your hands. When you align your habits with your hunger for more, your body adapts, your energy shifts, your mind sharpens, your recovery accelerates, and your results compound. Not because you were lucky, but because you were prepared. Because you didn't settle for average. You demanded more. And that demand was backed by action. Even in the final hour of the day. Even when no one saw it but you. The most powerful transformations happen when discipline becomes identity. When the things you used to force yourself to do become the things you no longer negotiate. That shift doesn't happen overnight. It's built through decisions, small, silent, relentless choices that compound. Eating with intention before bed isn't just a nutritional habit. It's a psychological contract with your future. It says, I'm not letting today's work unravel while I sleep. I'm giving my body the tools to rebuild, to reinforce, to renew. And when that becomes your standard, your results stop being temporary. They become inevitable. Consistency beats intensity every time. Anyone can train hard for a day, a week, even a month. But only those who link their habits to their identity endure. If you see yourself as strong, you act accordingly. If you see yourself as worthy of progress, you build habits that reflect that worth. Skipping a night of proper recovery nutrition isn't just missing a step, it's breaking a pattern. It's telling your body that growth isn't a priority, and that message gets absorbed, not just in your cells, but in your mindset. That's why you must guard the end of your day like a sacred ritual. You earned it. Now protect it. Feed your recovery like it's part of the mission. Because it is, when you stop negotiating with your excuses, your life begins to accelerate. The decisions that once felt hard become automatic. The resistance you used to feel is replaced by a quiet drive, a calm fire that doesn't burn out. You no longer need motivation. You operate from discipline. You rise, you train, you eat, you sleep all in alignment with who you've chosen to become. You've stopped chasing change and started embodying it. That's when the results stop fluctuating. That's when growth becomes permanent. The battle is not just physical, it's mental. Every late night craving, every tempting shortcut, every excuse that whispers just this once, that's the battlefield. That's where most people fall. Not from lack of effort, but from lack of clarity. They forget why it matters. They forget who they're becoming. But you won't forget. You won't fold. Because you've connected your actions to something deeper than appearance. You've tied them to identity. You're not just training for strength, you're living in strength. And that strength shows up in the quietest moments, when no one is watching, when the easy choice is sitting in front of you, and you say no. You choose fuel, you choose restoration, you choose power over pleasure. The results you want are already available. They're built into every choice you make. You don't need a breakthrough. You need alignment. Align your fuel with your purpose. Align your sleep with your standards. Align your identity with your actions, and your body will respond, not randomly, not slowly, but with certainty. Because when you act like the person you're becoming, your results rise to meet you. Every single night, without fail, every single day your body listens to what you feed it. Every night your body listens even closer. Because when the world goes quiet and your conscious mind rests, your cells keep working. They rebuild, restore, and regenerate only if you give them the tools to do it. What you choose to eat before you sleep isn't just about filling your stomach. It's a signal. It tells your body what kind of future to build. You can feed weakness, or you can feed strength. You can allow your muscles to fade, or you can command them to grow. And that choice is entirely yours, every single night. There's no such thing as a neutral choice. Everything you consume either builds you up or breaks you down. And when it comes to your last meal of the day, the cost of neglect is steep. Skipping the right nutrients before bed doesn't just delay progress, it invites regression. It opens the door for muscle loss, weak recovery, and stalled momentum. But when you fuel wisely, when you prioritize protein, minerals, and nutrients that repair, you do something powerful. You shift your body into a state of growth even while you sleep. That's mastery. That's intention. That's how champions are built. Discipline after dark is the hidden edge. When everyone else is mindlessly snacking, you're fueling with clarity. When others let their progress unravel overnight, you're silently locking in gains. Not because you're obsessed, but because you're awake. You understand what's at stake. You're not looking for comfort, you're building capacity. You're not reacting, you're preparing. And that mindset alone separates you from the majority. Because most people act based on how they feel. But you act based on who you are. You've turned intention into instinct. That's where real strength lives. Progress is no longer accidental. It's engineered. You don't wake up stronger by chance. You wake up stronger because you designed your evening to deliver results. You don't just train muscles in the gym, you train them with every bite you choose before bed. Your muscles don't grow while you lift, they grow while you rest. And that rest is only productive if it's backed by the right fuel. Ignore that, and you're slowing down what should be accelerating. Respect that, and you unlock a level of growth most people never reach. This is where your edge sharpens in the quiet, invisible moments, not when people cheer for you, not when it's convenient, but when you're alone, staring at the fridge, choosing to be better. That's when you build the body, the mind, and the life you say you want. Not with one choice, but with repeated commitment, over and over, night after night, until it's no longer something you do, it's who you are. And when you reach that point, nothing can stop you. Not time, not setbacks, not age. Because you've become the kind of person who never quits on their growth, even while they sleep. When you commit to growth in the unseen hours, you develop a discipline most will never understand. You begin to operate with a mindset that doesn't beg for results, it demands them. Because you're not waiting for motivation. You're moving from conviction. Every decision you make before bed becomes a vote for the future you want. You aren't just choosing food. You're choosing direction. You're choosing whether your body will decay or develop, whether your potential will remain an idea or become a physical reality. This is where most people lose the battle. Not in the gym, not on the scale, but in the quiet, daily rituals that shape the architecture of their strength. Sleep doesn't reset your progress, it amplifies what you've already committed to. If you go to bed empty, your body must borrow from its own reserves. It breaks itself down to survive. But when you go to bed nourished, with purpose and preparation, it rebuilds, it adapts, it fortifies. It rewards your effort by turning rest into transformation. You don't get stronger by simply sleeping. You get stronger by sleeping after feeding your body what it truly needs. This is why the right nutrients at night are non-negotiable. They are your silent training partners. They do the work while you rest. And that work is just as critical as any workout you've ever done. You can train for hours, but if you don't support recovery, you're building on sand. Every strong structure requires reinforcement, and your body is no different. Sleep is the blueprint. Food is the foundation. Without both, your efforts collapse. With both, your results compound. This is how real progress is built, through consistency, clarity, and control. The strongest version of you doesn't emerge from sporadic choices. It's carved out of patterns, patterns forged by action, reinforced by belief, and repeated until they become automatic, until they define you. This is your invitation to operate differently, to stop making choices based on taste alone and start choosing based on outcome, to shift from what feels good in the moment to what serves you in the long term. Your evening meal is not just a conclusion, it's a command to your body. It says, we are not done. We're still building. We're still climbing. And when your body hears that message repeatedly, it begins to respond. It begins to trust that you're serious, and it adjusts to match your intent. There is power in aligning your actions with your ambition, and that alignment must extend to every hour, including the ones before sleep. The body you want, the life you imagine, the energy, the strength, the confidence. It's all built in these quiet moments. You don't need louder goals. You need deeper focus. You don't need more noise. You need better habits. And it begins tonight, with what you feed your body, with what you tell your system, with whether you fall asleep drifting or fall asleep growing. Choose growth. Every night, without compromise. Your body listens even when your mind is quiet. In the stillness of the night, long after the noise fades, your system begins its silent labor. Muscles aren't built in motion, they're built in stillness. But that stillness must be fueled. It must be intentional. Because if you go to bed without giving your body the tools to recover, you're not just pausing growth, you're reversing it. The hours meant for repair become hours of depletion. And every time that happens, you drift further from the strength you're meant to own. This is the silent war most never see. The battle between what the body needs and what it's given. And the victory always goes to those who choose with clarity, not convenience. Fueling your body before sleep isn't just about nutrients. It's a declaration. A quiet statement that says you value the vessel carrying your ambition. It says you understand that every goal you've set needs a structure to stand on, and that structure is your body, your energy, your resilience. And these things are not maintained by accident. They're earned. They're preserved by doing the things others overlook, by showing up for yourself when no one's watching, by understanding that small choices become your identity when repeated with consistency. This is where greatness begins, not in explosive moments of motivation, but in the calm repetition of right choices. When you give your body the right fuel before sleep, you're not just protecting muscle, you're building discipline. You're reinforcing the habit of forward motion, because it's never about one meal or one night. It's about who you become when you repeatedly choose what serves your vision. That's what separates those who stay stuck from those who break through. It's not luck. It's not talent. It's the refusal to ignore the small hinges that swing the big doors. Every decision compounds. Every night you choose to nourish yourself properly, you set a deeper foundation. You create a rhythm your body can trust. And that trust becomes momentum. And that momentum becomes change. You won't always see it in the mirror the next morning. But it's there, in the way you carry yourself, in the energy you bring, in the mindset that says, I don't skip the small things because I know they build the big things. So you keep showing up. You keep preparing that final meal, not as a chore, but as a commitment. You understand that strength doesn't just live in the gym, it lives in the choices that no one claps for. It lives in the silent victories you stack when no one's keeping score. And it's those victories that eventually redefine you. They shift you from someone who wishes to someone who decides, from someone who waits to someone who creates. This isn't about perfection, it's about progress, night after night, choice after choice. And it all begins with how you close your day. Strong, nourished, aligned. That's the power you hold. And now it's time to use it.